In my past life, I dutifully cared for my in-laws, who were unable to take care of themselves, for 10 long years. After they passed away, my husband kicked me to the curb and remarried his ex-wife in the blink of an eye, leaving them a picture-perfect family of 3. But his ex-wife wasn't done with me. She kept tormenting me, who was already battling depression, until I was driven to jump off a building. Little did I know I'd get a second chance. Now, reborn. I find my husband pinching his nose in disgust, ordering me to clean up after my incontinent mother-in-law. I flung the shit-stained underwear right back in his face. Screw you. I'm done with this. Ex.Wife was pinching his nose in disgust, his mouth opening and closing as he yelled at me. I pinched the palm of my hand hard, only then confirming to myself that I had been reborn. Chinya, is your nose stuffed? Can't you smell that awful stench in the house? Ex.Wife and I are a blended family from second marriages. I had no children with my ex-husband, and the custody of his son went to his ex-wife. If my mother hadn't threatened to kill herself, I wouldn't have rushed into another marriage so quickly. She said, "You're already a divorcee, so stop being so picky. I should be thanking my lucky stars that any man is willing to take you, let alone someone like Xiao Zhou. He's not only well-mannered in appearance, but he also has a stable job at a state-owned enterprise. If you don't marry him, I might as well be dead." Just to spare myself the gossip from all the neighbors, my heart had long since grown numb. In my mother's eyes, saving face trumps everything, even my own happiness. If I ever dared to defy her, she'd be ready to put a knife to her own throat in an instant, cursing me for being heartless. My ex-husband was introduced by her friend. We'd known each other for less than a year before I was practically forced into marrying him. If I hadn't gotten a divorce, I probably would have been beaten to death by domestic violence. My mother even said a second marriage was shameful and that we shouldn't waste money on a lavish wedding banquet. So, Ex.Wife and I hastily got our marriage certificate and I moved into his place. After the wedding, Ex.Wife and I enjoyed a period of being inseparable, completely wrapped up in each other. But that only lasted for half a year, because Ex.Wife drove back to his hometown and brought his blind elderly father and his mother, who suffers from dementia, to live with us. In front of my mother, Ex.Wife explained that the elderly couple couldn't take care of themselves, so having them nearby would make it easier to look after them. With tears in his eyes, he added that his parents had sacrificed everything to raise him, even collecting cardboard boxes to pay for his schooling. He said if he didn't take good care of them now, he would never be able to live with himself. My mother was moved to tears, earnestly instructing me to serve my in-laws as if they were my own parents. And so, my miserable fate began. Caring for the elderly is no easy task, especially when it's 2 cantankerous old folks who can't take care of themselves. Ex.Wife was always working overtime, staying at the office and never coming home, dumping the full responsibility for his parents on me. It was only after his death that I found out he had gone to another home, to be with his ex-wife and children. My father-in-law's blindness was somewhat easier to manage. I just had to hand him his cup and bowl, and he could eat and drink by himself. I simply tuned out his constant passive-aggressive remarks. For using the toilet, I would help him into the bathroom, and he would manage by himself. My mother-in-law, suffering from dementia, would not only frequently hit and pinch me, but was also incontinent. She would soil herself with urine and feces almost daily, and each time I had to hold my breath and wash everything by hand. When I couldn't take it anymore, I bought high-quality adult diapers for her. To my shock, my mother-in-law, in her confused state, secretly took them off and smeared feces on the wall. Ex.Wife and I had a huge fight over the diaper issue. He pointed his finger in my face, demanding to know if I'd be willing to wear diapers myself. He accused me of deliberately humiliating his mother and called me a sicko. My heart just sank. I seriously brought up divorce. Ex.Wife stared at me in disbelief, immediately offered a flustered apology, and then went to fetch my mother. Without a word, my mother slapped me across the face, threatening that if I dared to get a divorce, she would kill herself right in front of me. I had no choice but to give in. After his parents passed away, Ex.Wife threw me out of his house. The day of our divorce was also the day he remarried his ex-wife. My mother was there too, repeatedly jabbing her finger against my temple. They called me a useless failure, who couldn't even keep my own husband. Ex.Wife, his ex-wife, and their son stood by watching the scene, their eyes filled with mockery and disdain. Ex.Wife's ex-wife, Zhang Rua, is actually older than me, but she looks like she's from a completely different generation, with her fair, delicate features and elegant attire. She was coquettishly clinging to Ex.Wife. "Honey, I'm sorry you have to put up with this, living under the same roof as that old, unpleasant woman. Zhou Huai gave a nonchalant smile. It's all for you. How could I bear to make you wait on my parents? Chinya is just a free, unpaid nanny to me. Since Zhou Huai and his ex-wife share a child, half of his salary goes directly to her as child support, while the other half is given to me to cover his parents' care and household expenses. The little that's left for us as a couple is pitifully small. In my middle age, I was left with almost nothing. Even though Zhou Huai and I had gone our separate ways, his ex-wife wasn't about to let me off the hook. She kept showing up, a constant reminder that I was unloved and unwanted. Zhang Rua said someone like me, living a life worse than a dog's, wasn't liked by anyone in the world. Within a year, I, who was already battling depression, jumped to my death. It was only after I died that I learned the truth. She held a grudge against me all because, during an argument with Zhou Huai, he carelessly remarked that my temper was better than hers. I became the thorn in her side that she was determined to remove. Perhaps my eyes wouldn't close in death because my resentment was too great, and the heavens saw fit to grant me a second chance, given a second life. If I don't utterly wreck every single one of you, I'd be doing a disservice to my own pathetic, weak self from the previous lifetime. Zhou Huai watched me fall silent, his gaze settling on me, full of reproach. Are you deaf, too? You're home all day with nothing to do, and you can't even handle this one simple task of looking after her. Hurry up and clean my mother. The smell is disgusting. I had already put my mother-in-law's soiled lower garments in the basin, but I had to step out for a moment when I got an unexpected delivery call. Who knew she would have another accident? And right as Zhou Huai was walking in the door, he kept nagging, "Can you hurry up? You're moving like a block of wood." I snatched my mother-in-law's shit-stained underpants and flung them in his face, roaring, "Go to hell, I'm done with this." With a slap, the underwear landed on the tiled floor. The filth smeared across Zhou Huai's face and mouth. He frantically turned on the faucet to wash it off. Half a minute later, his bloodshot eyes were fixed on me, fists clenched. "Chinya, what are you doing? Have you lost your mind?" "That's right, I have. Can't you wash your own damn clothes? Are your hands broken or something? All you do is flap your filthy mouth and order people around." I kicked the basin over. Murky water splashed all over Zhou Huai's clothes and shoes, and an indescribable stench began to waft across the balcony. "From now on, wash your own clothes. I don't care if they pile up and rot. I'm not touching them. Let whoever wants to wash them do it." Zhou Huai's finger trembled as he pointed at me, the veins in his neck bulging. His rage was clearly at a breaking point, ready to erupt. Hearing the commotion, my father-in-law groped his way over from the next room. Leaning on his cane, he thumped it hard on the floor, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Enough, it's just a few pieces of laundry, son. Wash them yourself, making such a fuss over a couple of shirts." I snatched the clothes pole and swept all their hanging clothes off the balcony railing onto the wet ground, stomping on them furiously. "I washed all of these. Let your precious son do it for a change." All the resentment I'd bottled up for a lifetime came pouring out. Losing it felt so much better than just taking it. Zhou Huai was stunned by my contorted face. After all, I'd always been meek and submissive around him. I stormed into the kitchen and, as I passed by, swept every single pot, pan, and dish I'd ever washed crashing to the floor. "You treat me like a maid every single day, not a wife at all. Even a damn donkey gets fed. You're all comfortable exploiting me, aren't you? Well, if I'm miserable, nobody gets to be happy." For a moment, the room was filled with the chaotic, crashing sounds of things being thrown and broken. Zhou Huai seemed to snap out of his daze. He immediately rushed up to me, his gaze vicious, grinding his teeth as if he wanted to tear me apart. "Chinya, I don't want to hit a woman, but today, I've had enough of you." I calmly pulled out a kitchen knife from behind my back and stared at him coldly. "You'd better think carefully, which is more powerful, your fists or my blade?" Zhou Huai backed down, instinctively taking half a step backward. "Don't you dare regret this. I'm definitely telling your mom about this." "Oh, here we go again with the same old routine." Zhou Huai had my mother wrapped around his finger in my past life. If I ever defied him or threatened divorce, she'd show up the very next day with her whole arsenal of hysterics, the tears, the tantrums, the threats. On several occasions, it even got the police involved. She wielded her status as my mother to guilt-trip and manipulate me without a shred of restraint. My father-in-law was trembling with rage, pounding his cane against the floor over and over, muttering about the family's misfortune and how they'd brought a shrew into the house. My mother-in-law, who has dementia, started loudly singing her son's praises in the house, as if putting on a show, boasting about how capable her son and husband are, while belittling me, the vixen who stole her precious son, for daring to raise my voice at him. "Oh, having a lucid moment, are we? I had a cleaver in one hand and a bucket of oil in the other. I walked from room to room, splashing it everywhere, making sure not a single corner was missed. Grandpa, please don't wander around, you wouldn't want to take a fall and end up paralyzed. I'm the one who mopped the floor, washed the sofa covers, and scrubbed the toilet. If you're so capable, why don't you do it yourselves? Ex.Wife didn't dare come near me, his temple was twitching, and he was grinding his teeth as he called my mom to tattle on me. I just slammed the door and stormed out, not giving my mom a chance to show up and threaten me with suicide. My mom's frantic barrage of calls came through almost immediately. The moment I answered, she yelled at me, "Have you lost your mind, you silly girl? My son-in-law told me you trashed the house. I want a divorce." "You want a divorce over something this trivial? You're already a divorcee. Who's going to want you if you get divorced again?" My mom shot back instantly. "I want a divorce," I repeated once more. "You are not getting a divorce. A wife's duty is to be obedient and compliant. Have you forgotten why you were abused in your last marriage? It was because of your stubborn temper. You had it coming. Take a good look at yourself. What do you have to offer? No education, no looks, and you're already a divorcee. Who would want you if you leave?" Hearing these familiar, belittling words again, my heart remained utterly calm, perhaps because I remained silent for so long. My mother softened her tone again, trying to reason with me gently. "Sharia, I'm doing this for your own good. I've been through it all. Life is the same in any household. Every family has its own troubles. Your husband doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, and isn't abusive. Isn't that good enough? You need to learn to be content. I worked so hard to raise you from a child. I want you to be happy, at the very least. You don't have to worry about food and clothing now, right?" Having lived this life once before, I know this tactic of slapping someone and then offering a sweet is called PUA. "Alright, go apologize to your husband and then clean the house from top to bottom." When a couple lives together, someone has to be the first to swallow their pride. I said I want a divorce. Are you deaf or just not listening? If Ex.Wife is so wonderful, why don't you marry him yourself? You just keep yammering on. How did I end up with a mother who can't tell right from wrong and always sides with outsiders? Having a mother like you, I'm cursed for life. My mother flew into a rage, shrieking, "You little brat, how dare you speak to me in that tone? You think you're all grown up now? Is that it? Get back there right now. Get on your knees and apologize, and learn to serve your husband's family properly. Mark my words, the moment you sign those divorce papers, I'll jump off a building. I'll make sure everyone knows you're the daughter who drove her own mother to her death." With a sharp click, I hung up the phone. I went and had hot pot by myself, then checked into a hotel. It's only been 3 years since I married Ex.Wife, and I haven't even spent through my premarital assets yet. In my past life, the money Ex.Wife provided was never enough to cover our household expenses. I had to dip into my own savings, and over 10 years of marriage, it was all spent. After a sleepless night, I finally had the most peaceful sleep of my 2 lifetimes. Ex.Wife called me over 30 times, and my mother called more than a dozen. I had my phone on silent and didn't answer a single one. There were also text messages from Ex.Wife on my phone. The first few messages cursed at me, telling me to get treatment if I'm sick, and that he wants a divorce. The later ones accused me of being irresponsible, saying that caring for my in-laws is my duty as a daughter-in-law, and how could I just abandon my responsibilities? My mom bombarded me with texts asking where the hell I've gone and to get home immediately. Blocked them all. Marriage really has no benefits at all. After Ex.Wife realized I had blocked him, he called from a different number, but I still didn't answer. After 3 days of me ignoring him, he finally lost his composure and sent a groveling text, begging me to come back. He said the house doesn't work without me, that he can't live without me. How disgusting. He couldn't even handle taking care of his own parents for a few days. Useless. To find me, my mom threatened to kill herself if I didn't come home. I really didn't want to deal with her. But the conflict between my mom and me had to be resolved sooner or later. I had just finished my job interview when I got a call from the police station. They told me my mom was threatening to jump off a building and that I needed to get there fast to talk her down. By the time I rushed to the scene, a crowd of onlookers had already gathered several layers deep. My mom was perched on the windowsill, with half her body hanging over the edge. She cried out loudly, "Stay back, all of you. Where's my daughter? Why won't she come to see me? What sin did I commit in my past life, to be cursed with such an ungrateful daughter in this one? Not only does she refuse to visit, but she's even blocked my number." You could hear her bad-mouthing me from a mile away. It stirred up quite a bit of public outrage. with some people even live streaming and taking photos. She's trying to force me to give in using the same old trick again. In my past life, I died while she lived on. And she lived well. Gleefully gossiping and complaining to her old friends, my daughter was just born unlucky. If I didn't let her taste the bitterness of marriage, how would she ever understand the sacrifices I made for her? What a shame her belly was useless. She never got to suffer the hardships of childbirth. My friend said she was too cruel to her own daughter, and she cursed my father through gritted teeth. My father's affair hurt her, so she took her revenge out on me. Why should I struggle in the mire for a lifetime, while she gets to live freely and happily? It's as if I'm already dead inside. My heart was shattered by her long ago, yet I was still so cold that my very soul trembled. So it's true, some mothers don't love their own children. She's my mother, and she's actually afraid I might be happier than her someday. No wonder, ever since I was little, she never liked seeing me smile. She said it was ugly, every time I shared my joy with her. She'd always find a way to pour cold water on it. In my past life, I repaid her for raising me. In this life, I'm taking control of my own destiny. When I entered the room, Ex.Wife was already there, kneeling before my mother, pleading with her through tears not to jump. Seeing me arrive, the two of them doubled down on their performance, playing off each other with renewed vigor. Mom, it's all my fault. I made Xiaoya angry. That's why she ran away and is threatening to divorce me. Please. Don't do anything rash, son-in-law. My daughter is blind. You've been so good to her. And I'm just filled with shame. I can't bear to go on living. I gathered myself for a moment, and then the tears just started streaming down. Then I pulled out a fruit knife and held it to my own throat. Mom, please, you have to stop trying to talk me out of this divorce. Ex.Wife is a sanctimonious hypocrite. He doesn't just beat me. He's also having an affair. The few police officers present were stunned. As I spoke, I took off my jacket, revealing a short-sleeved shirt underneath. My arms were covered in dark bruises, with barely an inch of unmarked skin. I am a victim of domestic violence, but it was his mother, who has dementia, who did this to me. I had already poured my heart out to Ex.Wife about this, but he didn't take it seriously at all. Instead, he accused me of picking on a sick person. Mom, please stop using suicide to pressure me. I really can't take it anymore. If you jump today, I'll follow you right into the afterlife. I won't let you make that journey alone. To prove I was serious, I pressed the blade to my neck, ready to draw blood. Chinya, stay calm, the police officer shouted, his worried gaze fixed on me. My mother sat on the windowsill, visibly panicked. Ex.Wife tried to approach me, pleading gently, honey, don't do anything rash. You can't get Mom to come down this way. I'm sorry. I never thought my mother's dementia would lead to her hurting you like this. It's my fault. Get out of here. I don't want to see you. For 3 years, I've been the one taking care of your blind father and your mother with dementia. I've been doing everything in this house. And you use overtime as an excuse to never come home. Don't think I don't know you're going to your ex-wife's place, if you two are so close. Why did you divorce her and marry me? My voice grew louder and louder. The spectators outside the door began whispering and murmuring amongst themselves, who's right and who's wrong here? I can't make heads or tails of it. Exactly. The mother says her daughter is unfilial and divorced on a whim, while the daughter says her mother wouldn't let her get a divorce. Look at her arm, those bruises are clearly real. It's very possible the husband was abusing her. The key point is, this guy is back with his ex-wife. The more I hear, the more it sounds like he deliberately planned to marry her. Oh my God, what kind of mother is that? My mother's face visibly darkened. She kept shouting at the top of her lungs, airing all my dirty laundry from the past. Don't listen to my daughter's nonsense. She's been a liar since she was a child. The domestic violence story is all made up. You want to drive me to jump? Fine, I'll jump right now. She talked about jumping, but her hands were gripping the railing tightly. I swung the fruit knife and stabbed myself in the chest. Blood sprayed out instantly, and I broke down into hysterical sobs. Mom, I can't believe you trust a stranger over your own daughter. Stop pushing me. There's no way I'm ever getting back together with that scumbag. My mother was stunned. She never expected me to not only threaten her with suicide just like she did, but to put on an even more convincing performance. Mom, I'm the child you worked so hard to bring into this world. Why won't you stand by my side? She was caught between a rock and a hard place. Just as she hesitated, the police officer who had been lying in wait upstairs acted swiftly, kicking her back and through the window. She landed face first on the floor, and the other officers immediately swarmed and pinned her down. I immediately dropped the knife and rushed over, intending to check on her. She was both frantic and furious, absolutely seething with rage. You crazy girl, you've truly lost your mind. My son-in-law was right, you're not right in the head, I'm going to have you committed to an asylum, locked away for the rest of your life. Weren't you just threatening to kill yourself with a knife? Go on then, let's see you keep up this little act. I gave her a hopeless, despairing smile. Goodbye, Mom. I jumped from the 3rd floor. I'm sure today's news is going to blow up. There was a safety air cushion below, and I was taken to the hospital for the injury to my chest. The world always sides with the underdog, and now, I'm the underdog. I'm not just going to walk her path, I'm going to finish it and then burn the bridge behind me. I am absolutely divorcing that scumbag Zhou Huai. Just as expected, it's trending. My mother can never threaten me with suicide again. Now she's hiding at home, too scared to even step outside. She bombards me with phone calls every day, and if I don't answer, she leaves abusive voice messages. She calls me an ungrateful wretch and says she should have had me aborted. She sends dozens of messages daily, some even laced with graphic, vulgar insults. Concerned neighbors in the community have organized to throw rotten eggs at her door, or they gather in groups to heatedly discuss her. She's become a delusional old hag who panders to men and can't tell right from wrong. That's exactly how netizens described her. Not only that, she and Zhou Huai were both cyberbullied. Her phone number was leaked by someone, and she received harassing text messages every day. Zhou Huai's ex-wife was also doxxed, so she doesn't have a job and is entirely supported by Zhou Huai. He's really using our marital assets to fund his ex-wife, all under the noble guise of child support. My injuries weren't actually serious at all, it just looked like a lot of blood, so I got a simple bandage. The first thing I did after being discharged was find a lawyer to consult about the child support issue. After getting the answer, I immediately agreed to the journalist's interview and headed to Zhou Huai's state-owned enterprise. Perhaps because I had the journalist with me, the receptionist at the front desk didn't stop us. I found Zhou Huai without any trouble. He was taken aback when he saw me. Darling, I was wrong. Please go online and clear this up. I never laid a hand on you. You know I didn't. Does that even matter? What really matters is you dumped your sick parents on me to care for, while you went off to play happy families with your ex-wife and kid. Zhou Huai's face flushed crimson, and he asked me flatly, "What brings you here?" "I'm here to see your company's payroll department. I want to know where my husband's salary has been going for the past 3 years of our marriage," with a camera crew present. Many employees who were working craned their necks to see what was going on. "Hello, I'm Zhao Lu, Zhou Huai's supervisor. I can take you to the finance department, but I'm afraid salary information is covered by a confidentiality agreement, so I can't disclose it." A bald, greasy-looking man suddenly chimed in. Reporter Zhang raised his microphone. "Ms. Chen isn't asking about the exact salary. She's now suspecting your organization of withholding wages, otherwise. Why would her husband only give her and the 2 elderly family members 2,000 yuan a month for living expenses?" Zhou Huai's face turned from red to pale. Many people began whispering to each other. No wonder the higher-ups called Zhou Huai in. "I saw online that his wife jumped off a building. I saw that too. He always seemed so honest, but who knew he had such a devious side? His wife was basically a live-in maid he found, and a free one at that. Tisk tisk tsk. I was absolutely shocked when he divorced his ex-wife. After all, he used to dote on her so much. It was so loud I could hear it. "Oh, I see. Well, let me check with my supervisor. We will provide Ms. Chen with Zhou Huai's pay stubs and salary details for the past 3 years." Seeing the situation turn sour, Zhao Lu immediately changed his tune. With a forced smile, he led us to the finance department. After all, it was the city's largest and most influential newspaper that was interviewing me. The moment I saw the pay stub, my hand trembled involuntarily. Well, isn't that just perfect? It looks like not only is there a divorce, but he's also suing his ex-wife to get their joint assets back. Zhou Huai earns a huge salary at the state-owned enterprise, 18,000 a month, and he only gives me 2,000. I have never seen someone with such gall. Zhou Huai didn't even care about his colleagues being there. He apologized to me right in front of the camera. "Darling, I just can't bear the thought of our son suffering without a father. Can you understand that? I'll give them less from now on, so please, can we just drop this?" I stared at him coldly, my lips parting slightly. "Let's go get the divorce papers tomorrow." Before the buzz from my suicide attempt had even died down, the follow-up story exploded online. That scumbag was only giving his wife 2,000 a month to take care of his parents. I'm absolutely floored. He makes 18K a month but only gives 2K for living expenses, and that's for 3 people, so the scumbag gets to live it up with his ex-wife and their kid. while his current wife is left at home scraping by. Unbelievable. We all know the power of online trolls. They not only crowdfunded to get Zhou Huai and his ex-wife back together, they're determined to see that scumbag and that homewrecker stuck with each other for life. He even lost his job. The reason for his dismissal was simply that the company does not retain employees with abysmal character. Zhou Huai and his ex-wife Zhang Rua's personal information was posted online for days. Netizens warned everyone to keep their eyes open, so as not to accidentally marry either one of them. Serves him right. Under the pressure of public opinion, Zhou Huai was forced to divorce me. At the Civil Affairs Bureau, he was still putting on that devoted lover act, begging me for another chance. I just told him to dream on, turned around, and left. He doesn't remember his past life, but I can still see the ugly face he made when he forced me into a divorce in our previous life. After the divorce, I rented an apartment instead of going back home. Once this online storm blows over, my mom will definitely start pushing me to get married, or even have kids. After all, she wants to turn me into someone just like her. I don't want that. I started looking for a job, going to interviews, and studying. Having been out of the workforce for 3 years and now turning 30, I'm facing a job market that's already tough on women. Being 30, that awkward age, makes finding a job even harder. For now, I can only manage part-time work while I study. My goal is to pass the civil service exam. They say the ultimate career goal is a government job. I'd like a stable job too. My mom still sends me voice messages. If I'm in a good mood, I'll reply with a few words. But every time, it makes her so angry she threatens to disown me. As for Zhou Huai, he's got it rough. Honestly, after the divorce, I really didn't want to pay him any more attention. Wasting time on a scumbag like that is pointless and not worth it. But I can't stop that eager reporter from last time. She keeps following the news about me and Zhou Huai and then telling me about it. As she puts it, she won't be satisfied until she sees that wretched pair get what's coming to them. After losing his job, he somehow managed to get back together with Zhang Rua and remarry her. Now the house is in total chaos. Zhou Huai can't find a job and is just living off his savings day after day. Zhang Rua has shown her true colors, not even taking care of the kid anymore. She's all dolled up every day, going out to who knows where. On top of everything, Zhou Huai has to look after his parents, who can't take care of themselves, and also care for their 6-year-old child, in just 6 months. He's become as thin as a rake. Oh, and he still occasionally uses unknown numbers to apologize to me and reminisce about the past. He said, "I regret it. I was blind back then and didn't cherish you. Do you remember? Right after we got married, when I had a leg injury, you said you wanted instant noodles, so I hobbled to the kitchen to cook them. When I was bringing them out, I tripped and fell, spilling the noodles all over myself." Xiaoya. It wasn't until after our divorce that I realized how deeply I love you. Can we start over? Are you out of your mind? I'm not a fool. Loving yourself is what truly matters. It's obvious he just wants to trick me into going back to wait on his whole family. Now that the free nanny has quit, all the work falls on him, and of course he's not happy about it. I calmly replied with a single word, piss off. Typing even one more character would have been a waste of my time. Before I could even deal with Zhou Huai, my mom got upset because I still hadn't gone back home. She simply couldn't stand the fact that I was free and living my own life again. She actually hired a mediator to try and talk me into coming home. I was in the middle of studying when the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, my mother was looking at me with eyes full of love and hope. "Xiaoya, please come home, I miss you so much." Mediator Xiaoli, accompanied by a photographer, asked if they could come in. I nodded. "Hello, Miss Chen, I'm Mediator Xiaoli. I'm here today at your mother's request to help ease the strained relationship between the two of you. Your mother mentioned you have some serious misunderstandings about her. Is this related to your divorce from your ex-husband?" "Not entirely." My mother couldn't help but make excuses. "Sweetheart, your mother was deceived by Zhou Huai too. Who knew he would actually hit you?" "I had no idea." The mediator began persuading her again. "So what was the main reason, Miss Chen?" I pointed at the camera and asked, "Excuse me, is this a live broadcast?" "Yes." "Is there something you'd prefer not to say?" I shook my head. "No, it's just that knowing it's a live stream puts my mind at ease." I took out the printed chat history with my mom, which had been transcribed from voice messages, along with the complete collection of all my call records with her. Let me just play one at random. "You little bitch, with that stubborn temper of yours, you deserve to be beaten by Qinzhen. Why didn't he just beat you to death? You're a waste of food just being alive. Raising you is worse than raising a dog." This was when my ex-husband and I were still married. She forbade me from getting a divorce and hurled these insults at me. The mediator was stunned. My mom flew into a rage the moment she heard it and lunged forward to snatch my phone. "You little brat, you were recording our call. I knew you were up to no good, you're rotten to the core." I played another clip. "Why don't you go die with your father? He tricked me into marrying him, then ran off with that cheap slut. Every time I see your face, so much like his, I want to ruin it. You'll never be rid of me. After all, I'm your mother. Ha 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 ha." My mother's face went deathly pale. She violently knocked over the camera and screamed like a madwoman. "It's all lies. Stop filming, you little bitch, you set me up. Didn't you? I knew you were an ungrateful wretch. After all the blood, sweat, and tears I poured into raising you, this is how you repay me, by turning on me." The mediator was both shocked and bewildered. She quickly stepped in to restrain my mother, urging her to calm down, but my mother, consumed by a mindless, hysterical rage, backhanded the mediator, shally, across the face, spittle flying as she shrieked. "None of your damn business, this is all your fault. Is this being broadcast now? I'm calling the police on you. You violated my privacy and defamed me. You're going to jail for this." I was completely stunned. "You said my mom doesn't understand the law, but she knows about reputation rights and privacy rights, but she actually brought that up here." The mediator immediately shut down the live stream. "I've seen some weirdos in my time, but you take the damn cake. Just you wait and see who ends up behind bars." Furious, she stormed off with the photographer in tow. As if snapping out of a daze, my mother took off after them. Time flew by, and just like that, another 2 years had passed. I successfully secured a permanent position at a public institution. I changed my phone number and moved to a new place. Besides my day job, I spend every evening editing videos and managing my own account, as short-form video content was really taking off in the coming years. I was among the early adopters who made their first pot of gold in this space. Since I was already good at cooking, I started my video journey by filming recipes. After creating my own account, I began sharing a daily vlog about my life. I also post tutorial videos with step-by-step cooking instructions. My follower count has surpassed 300K, and I occasionally take on sponsored posts or small ads. Life is fairly comfortable. In my past life, I succumbed to depression. Now, reborn. I want to start anew, relying on no one and following my own heart. Though I have no lover or family, I do have friends. I'm on quite good terms now with Xiao Zhang, that enthusiastic journalist. She grew up in a family that favored sons over daughters, where her parents treated her like a cash cow. Seeing what I went through, she felt a deep sense of resonance. At first, she only talked to me about Zhou Huai and Zhang Rua, but after my mom's mediation livestream took a dramatic turn, she proactively asked me out for meals and activities. She said she had no friends and wanted to be friends with me. Half a year ago, after my mom impulsively assaulted the mediator and chased after them, she was unexpectedly hit by a car and left paralyzed. She thought I'd wait on her hand and foot for the rest of her life while she's bedridden. I sold the house she was living in and put her in a nursing home instead. My father showed a shred of decency before he died and transferred the house to my name. As for Zhou Huai, Xiao Zhang was venting to me about him, saying he got what he deserved. He and his parents slunk back to their hometown to work the land. It turns out Zhang Rua tricked him into selling the house, ran off with the money, and didn't even take the child. Xiao Zhang says Zhou Huai is worse off than a beggar now. Tormented every day by his blind father, his incontinent mother, and a little hellion of a kid. The little brat is 8 now. In a few years, after his parents pass away one after the other, I'll send Zhou Huai the medical report confirming his azoospermia. I'm sure he'll have a complete breakdown when that happens. Xiao Zhang suddenly leaned in close and whispered, "Do you know where Zhang Rua went?" I was a bit curious. "She got caught in a pig butchering scam. Not only did she lose all her money, but she was also lured overseas. TSK, and it took me over a year of pulling every string I had just to find that out. Seriously." She nudged my arm twice, mysteriously, her eyes sparkling. "You can rest easy now. Those 2 wretched bitches got what they deserved." Tears streamed down my face. In truth, I had already found peace within, but thank you anyway, my good friend. Friends for life. Next, let's listen to the next story. While on the night shift, the emergency department called me in for a consultation. A car had spontaneously combusted, resulting in 2 people with severe burns. I was stunned when I got there. The burn victims turned out to be my husband and his little secretary. The worst part was that their lower bodies were completely fused together, stuck in a bizarre, inseparable heap on the hospital bed. My familiar colleagues all looked at me with a mix of pity and morbid curiosity, with a perfectly calm expression. I took the medical chart and said, "Well, it's not like it's any good now anyway, just cut them apart." As soon as the words were spoken, a deathly silence fell over the operating room. Every pair of eyes in the room turned to me and Zhou Qingxian. Zhou Qingxuan's previously volatile temper vanished the instant he heard my voice. He whipped his head around to stare at me, the figure in a white coat with a mask covering my face. Honey, what are you doing here?" A belated sense of dread washed over Zhou Qingxian. 2 days ago, he had told me he was going on a business trip for a few days, saying there was an urgent matter at the company that needed his attention. The night he left was my birthday. He was gone before the birthday candles had even dried. What on earth could be so urgent that it made him, the man who never once neglected me, break his own ironclad rule for the very first time and just walk away? I only found out tonight that the man I thought was aloof and restrained is actually full of tricks with other women, leading a messy private life. No wonder he turned me down every time I brought up having a child, claiming he was dog-tired from work. I actually felt sorry for him. The reason for it all is simple. He's been fooling around on the side and is completely drained, at this moment, with no clothing to cover them. This humiliating scene was laid bare before everyone's eyes. It felt like an invisible slap across Zhou Qingxuan's face, and across mine as well. I felt the blood rush to my head. The hand holding the scalpel began to tremble uncontrollably. Humiliation and rage churned in his chest, a searing pain that stole his breath. "In here, I am not your wife. Please call me Dr. Su." The burn on Zhou Qingxuan's leg still throbbed with pain. Any agitation from him would injure Lu Cece, who was pressed tightly against him. "Qingxian, don't move, it hurts." She said the name Qingxian with such familiarity. "Darling, I'm so sorry. I just had a moment of madness and did something stupid." He glanced at the scalpel in my hand and gulped. He knows I have a fiery temper and absolutely cannot stand any injustice. Ignoring his own pain, he pleaded with me. "Darling, please calm down. With your medical skills, you must have a way to separate me from Lu Cece." "No, there's only one way. Just cut it off." "No, there must be." Zhou Qingxian pleaded with me, her voice choked with tears. As a professional doctor, I wasn't lying, nor was I settling a personal score. I was simply telling the truth. But Zhou Qingxuan's face turned even paler than my white lab coat. "No, I want a different doctor. My wife is a bit emotional, and it might cloud her judgment." Outside the operating room, an anxious, heavy voice rang out. It was Zhou Qingxuan's mother, my mother-in-law. When the chief surgeon entered, he told me to put down the scalpel and step outside for some air. He would take over. I took a deep breath, trying my best to stay calm. The moment I stepped out the door, my mother-in-law slapped me across the face. "Su Jining, all of this is your fault. If you weren't so useless and couldn't keep Qingxian in line, he wouldn't have preferred to go out and fool around with someone else rather than come home to you. If it weren't for that, none of this would have happened. And I wouldn't have nearly lost my life." My face stung with a burning pain. I didn't dodge, letting her hit and berate me. It was only because her family had shown me kindness in the past. When my family fell on hard times, Master Zhou was there to offer help in our hour of need. I've held on to that kindness to this day, which is why I've always endured my mother-in-law's occasional scolding. But this time, I couldn't take it anymore. "Remember 2 years ago, when you found out your husband was having an affair, you gathered everyone to make a scene, called him inhuman, and condemned the other man as a disgraceful homewrecker. So why is it that when it's your own son who cheats, suddenly I'm the one at fault?" My mother-in-law was left speechless by my words, her aged face flushing red with anger. "How dare you talk back to me? Have you lost your mind? What are you doing out here? Get back in there and save my son. If anything happens to him, you'll pay for it." Immediately, cries of pain from a man and a woman echoed from the operating room. Forcing them apart would surely cause them great agony, but there was still one viable option. Just as I turned to go inside, the ever-scheming Lu Cece, sensing my intention, preempted me and declared, "For brother Qingxian, I've decided to undergo a cervical incision. It's the only way." The moment the words left her lips, Zhou Qingxian looked at her with deep emotion. "You're the only one who truly cares for me. Unlike some people who are utterly heartless, the person he was referring to was me, yet he never once placed the blame on himself. Just how chaotic must their entanglement have been to become so inseparable, and still he had the nerve to blame me for not saving him." Clenching my teeth, I swallowed my humiliation and picked up the surgical instruments. I had performed the same procedure for others before, and back then, I felt nothing but indignation on behalf of the man's wife. I remember my colleagues used to tell me, Su Jinning's husband is truly the best, so devoted and so utterly devoted to Jinning, but now, reality has slapped me hard across the face, the sting ringing in my ears. After the surgery, I removed my sterile gloves, walked to the restroom, and washed my hands under the faucet, over and over again. A colleague walked over, sighed, and comforted me. Jinning, are you okay? Only then did I notice my fair, delicate hands had been rubbed raw and red from my own anxious fidgeting. I'm fine, don't worry. The words left my mouth, but inside, it felt like my heart was being squeezed tight. It hurt. I didn't even know when the tears started falling. I wiped away my tears, not wanting anyone to see my wretched state. Just as I turned to leave, Zhou Qingxian, ignoring his own wounds, grabbed me forcefully and launched into a furious tirade. Are you happy now? If you hadn't been so heartless and refused to help, Cece wouldn't have had to resort to this method to protect me. Before I could even react, my mother-in-law, her face flushed with rage, struck me with a second slap. If it weren't for the old master forcing Qingxian to marry you back then, I would have never ever allowed a jinx like you to cross our threshold. With that, she shoved me hard to the ground. Lu Cece is pregnant, 1 month along. She started complaining of pain earlier, and there was bleeding. The baby can't be saved now. Aren't you supposed to be the miracle doctor? If you are, and there's nothing you can do, then it proves you did this on purpose. Zhou Qingxian looked at me with disappointment. You've let me down so much, he said. Yes, I wronged you. But I've already apologized. Isn't that enough? Did you really have to get your revenge? Faced with their accusations, I suddenly started laughing. But as I laughed, I felt a deep, profound sadness. My husband cheated. I was forced into a separation procedure. His mistress got pregnant and had a miscarriage. And somehow, all of it is my fault. I stood up and slapped Zhou Qingxian across the face. How did we lose the child? It was because you all used excessive force. Got completely stuck and couldn't separate, which triggered the whole chain of events. And now, you have the nerve to twist the facts and pin the blame on me. How dare you lay a hand on my son? The mother-in-law glared, her eyes blazing with fury. Yes, I'm not just going to hit him, I'm going to divorce him. Zhou Qingxian looked at me with disbelief, his lips pressed together, a complex expression in his eyes. In his mind, I was never one to show emotional instability. Always gentle and refined. I thought I would cry over this, but I didn't. I suppose my heart had grown cold towards Zhou Qingxian. Only my mother-in-law clapped her hands. Excellent. I've been hoping you two would split up for ages. Mom, please don't say that. I could never divorce Jinning. Jinning, apologize to your mother right now. Stop making a scene. I steadied my turbulent emotions and swallowed the bitter lump in my throat. I've done nothing wrong. I don't owe any of you an apology, and I'm certainly not making a scene. Zhou Qingxuan's expression darkened. It was your heartlessness that cost Cece her child. She doesn't even blame you. In fact, she urged me to apologize to you properly, and said she would apologize to you herself once she's recovered. That young woman is more gentle and understanding than you could ever be. Even after going through such a terrifying ordeal just now, she didn't cry or complain of the pain. Her heart truly belongs to me alone. He spoke those words with such casual indifference, never once considering the harm they would inflict on me. It was like a murderous blade, each strike aimed to be fatal. Gazing at this face I had loved for so many years, I felt a profound sense of strangeness for the very first time. Shedding his current mask of hypocrisy, he also began to grow aggressive and confrontational. A perfect copy of his mother. And what about you? Is this fair to me? A flicker of guilt crossed Zhou Qingxuan's face, and even his voice softened. Jinning, I know you've been wrong too, but what's done is done, and we have to face it and accept it. When he finished speaking, I closed my eyes, holding fast to my own convictions. This marriage is over. As I turned to leave, Zhou Qingxian called out to me from behind. Jinning, come back. I stayed outside for a long time, sitting there through the night, as dawn began to break. I took off my wedding ring and threw it away, a final farewell to everything in my past. For the next few days, I didn't go home, choosing instead to stay at the hospital. Zhou Qingxian and the others were discharged, and to spite me, he took Lu Cece directly back to our home to recuperate, pampering her with every comfort. Zhou Qingxian thought this would rattle me, make me panic and rush home to find him, but he was mistaken. A week went by, and I still hadn't shown up. Just as he was about to lose his patience, I returned with the divorce papers. I still had some of my belongings at the Zhou residence. This trip back was to settle everything once and for all. As soon as I stepped inside, I could see the three of them from a distance, chatting and laughing over a meal at the dining table. Zhou Qingxian was taken aback for a moment when she saw me, then spoke with a hint of pleasant surprise and smugness. "See, you came back to me after all. I knew you were all bark and no bite, you just couldn't bear to be without me. Sister Jinning is back, come on in and have a seat. Nanny Zhang, please set an extra place at the table." Lu Sisi seemed to regard herself as the lady of the house, directly challenging me. The reason she could act so brazenly was not only due to Mrs. Zhou's approval, but also because of Zhou Qingxuan's favoritism towards her. "Sisi's upbringing is truly superior, Mrs. Zhou wore a cold expression when she looked at me, but heaped praise on Lu Sisi. Ha, and they dare lecture others on upbringing. If they had any, they'd realize how utterly shameless and morally bankrupt their current actions are. Zhou Qingxian walked over, and just as he was about to take my hand, I pulled away. "I hope I'm not interrupting your little family reunion. My coming back today doesn't mean I still love you. It's because of this." I placed the divorce papers into the stunned Zhou Qingxuan's hands. "Don't forget to sign. I'm going to my room to pack my things now. Please step aside." "No, Jinning, are you serious about this?" "What else? The scandal of my husband having an affair with his secretary, to the point they're inseparable, is practically public knowledge. I thought you might have shown at least a shred of remorse, but no. You have the nerve to bring her home to live with us. You may have no shame, but I still have to face people." I walked right past him and went upstairs. The moment I stepped back into the room, the sight before me cut like a knife. My room was in complete disarray, with clothes and jewelry that had clearly been rummaged through. There were all sorts of random wrappers on the bedsheets, each with a different, unpleasant smell. What infuriated me most was my mother's heirloom bracelet, given to me on her deathbed. It was now broken in half, lying on the floor as if it had been trampled underfoot. In that moment, a white-hot rage consumed my reason, and any chance of staying calm vanished. Zhou Qingxian actually let Lu Sisi stay in my room. "Sister Jinning." Lu Sisi stepped on the bracelet with deliberate malice. I was just about to pick up the shattered jade bracelet. "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it." She then covered her mouth, pretending not to have seen it, only to step on the jade bracelet. I picked up the jade bracelet and confronted her. "Who gave you permission to stay in my room, and did you break this?" In the face of my accusation, she acted as if it were perfectly justified. She deliberately loosened the scarf around her neck, revealing a scattering of love bites of various sizes. "Your room? How laughable. I'm simply staying in what will soon be my room. You're just the one clinging to it, refusing to leave. Do you know what Qingxian whispered to me when he was making love to me? He said you were, bore, ing. Ha. It's only with me that he truly becomes a man." I couldn't take her mockery anymore. I slapped her across the face. "Men are like trash, you can have him, but you should never, ever have broken my jade bracelet." Lu Sisi held her reddened cheek and shouted at me furiously. "How dare you hit me? You're exactly who I meant to hit." Just as Lu Sisi was about to retaliate, she suddenly remembered something. She slapped her own face hard several times, the sound so loud it could be heard by people downstairs. I realized something was wrong. "What are you doing?" "To frame you, of course, and force Qingxian to divorce you." She smiled with a sinister air, her face wearing a look of absolute certainty. "Oh, have mercy, Sister Jinning. I know I was wrong. Please, I beg you, don't hit me. I'll leave right now. None of this has anything to do with Qingxian, please. Don't hold it against him." That afternoon, Zhou Qingxian walked in and, without a word of explanation, slapped me to the ground. "If you have a problem, take it up with me. Sisi just recovered, why would you hit her?" As I fell, my head struck the corner of the table, and a bead of blood welled up on my forehead. Zhou Qingxian didn't even glance my way, completely focused on coddling Lu Sisi, who wore a smug smile in his arms. "I didn't hit her, she staged the whole thing herself." "Enough. I'm not blind." The cold indifference in Zhou Qingxuan's eyes finally broke my heart. Just then, Zhou's mother came in with the divorce papers. Zhou Qingxian snatched them, pulled out a pen, signed his name without a moment's hesitation, and threw them in my face. "You said you wanted a divorce, didn't you? Fine, you can have it, but do you even dare to sign it? If you really wanted to leave, you'd have been long gone. Coming back, what a joke." For some reason, I wasn't heartbroken. Instead, I felt a profound sense of relief. I put the divorce papers away. Arguing with them any further was pointless. Zhou Qingxian isn't just blind in the eyes, he's blind in the heart. But I'm not the kind of person who takes abuse lying down. Before leaving, I picked up my phone, tapped away, and sent Zhou Qingxian a surveillance video. He had installed the camera himself a year ago, and its angle was precisely aimed at the vanity. Only after sending it did I realize there was nothing left here worth taking. Clutching the shattered jade bracelet in my hand, I walked away from this suffocating home without a backward glance. After Zhou Qingxian received the video, he opened it, his expression shifted from calm to furious. Finally, he hurled the phone into Lu Cici's face. Give me an explanation. Lu Cici's face still held a look of grievance, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Picking up the phone in confusion, she said, "What's going on, Qingxian? Why are you so angry with me?" At the same time, she glanced at the video on the phone. In an instant, her mind went blank with shock, and she dropped the phone to the floor. "I didn't." Zhou Qingxian let out a derisive snort, watching her evasive, shifty eyes. "No, do you take me for a fool? With the evidence staring you in the face, are you really going to keep lying?" Lu Cici stopped hiding it then and there, and spoke up frankly, "That's right. Auntie told me to do all of it, my mother." Zhou Qingxian was utterly stunned. "Alright, don't be angry, since you've already signed the papers and Su Jining has left, let me take care of things from now on." Before she could finish her sentence, Zhou Qingxian grabbed her by the throat. "I told you from the start, this was just a fling, don't you dare dream of taking Su Jining's place." The fury and malice on Zhou Qingxuan's face began to frighten Lu Cici. Just as Lu Cici was gasping for air, Zhou's mother entered the room. "Ah, Qingxian, let her go this instant, you're practically strangling her to death." "Death? I won't let her off that easily." Zhou Qingxian shot his mother a look of equal ferocity. "Why are you looking at me like that? For the sake of some nobody like Su Jining, really? As for that, it's because I love her so much." With that, he shook off Lu Cici. He had something to do now, and he hoped it wasn't too late. He was afraid I would also sign the divorce papers, which would mean there was no longer any marital bond between us. After all, Zhou Qingxian knew better than anyone how I had left home. The moment he left, Lu Cici wanted to run after him, but Mother Zhou grabbed her arm. "Mom, let go. I need to go get him back. I'm afraid." As she spoke, Lu Cici turned her head to look at Mother Zhou. When she saw the dark, menacing look on the older woman's face, her voice died in her throat. "Who do you think you're calling Mom? Don't be so presumptuous. Neither you nor Su Jining are good enough for my son. Besides, you're just a lowly secretary. The only reason I was nice to you before was to use you to drive Su Jining away. Now that she's finally gone, there's no need to keep you around." "What?" Lu Cici's face turned deathly pale. It had never crossed her mind that she would become the second Su Jining, a mere pawn of Madame Zhou, manipulated all along. "No, I won't leave. I'm waiting for Qingxian to return." Slap. "You have no right. Guards, throw her out immediately, and don't you dare let her set foot in here again." Lu Cici glared at Mrs. Zhou with pure hatred, struggling desperately before finally being thrown out the door. Meanwhile, Zhou Qingxian drove his car, running several red lights in a row as he sped all the way to the hospital where I worked. The moment he got out of the car, he started running like mad. In his frantic haste, he stumbled and fell several times, but he still couldn't find me, because before returning to the Zhou family home, I had already requested a 1-month annual leave from the hospital. I haven't had a proper break in years, so I figured I'd take this unpleasant time to get away for a bit. Zhou Qingxian waited in vain for me to show up, only to have a colleague of mine deliver the divorce papers to him instead. His eyes widened in disbelief as he stared at the signature line, where the name Su Jining was already written. Su Jining actually dared to sign it. This wasn't just one of her usual tantrums. How could this be? She loved me so much. Zhou Qingxuan's mind was in turmoil. He couldn't stand still, nor could he sit still. He clenched the divorce agreement in his hand, crumpling it into a wrinkled mess. Before Jining left, she said she also sent a copy to her lawyer. "Tearing this one up won't do you any good." His colleague was ready to leave. She had a particular loathing for scumbags. Zhou Qingxian quickly stopped her. "Wait, do you know where she went?" "I don't know, but she said she'd come back after this 1-month cooling off period." At that, Zhou Qingxian finally panicked. If Su Jining didn't show up at all during this month, their marriage would be beyond saving. "No, whatever it takes, we must find her and bring her back." He made a call to a friend. "Help me track Su Jining's movements. Check every road, railway, ship, and flight. Leave no stone unturned. I will find out where she went." After finishing his business, Zhou Qingxian went home. When he saw the room, and that I had taken almost nothing, only a few items of great importance to me, he was utterly deflated. Because all those clothes and bags were gifts from him, leaving them behind meant I was truly leaving him behind, too, himself included. I was on a tour group trip to distant Tibet, and thankfully, I didn't suffer from altitude sickness. I had long heard this was the place closest to the heavens. Looking up, it felt as if I could reach out and touch a cloud. They hung so low in the sky, I couldn't bear to walk away, counting the days. I'll soon be through the cooling off period and get my divorce papers without a hitch. Watching a couple in the distance taking photos to capture the moment reminded me of my first memories with Zhou Qingxian. We were young back then. My grandfather and old master Zhou were comrades in arms and would visit each other occasionally. The adults always had endless topics to discuss, while we youngsters felt bored with nothing to do, and so I stumbled into Zhou Qingxuan's secret garden without even realizing it. At first, he was very resistant towards me and wouldn't let me get close. Back then, I was also rather cold and quiet. Later, when our two families went hiking, Zhou Qingxian was bitten by a snake. Without a second thought, I used my first aid training to suck the venom out for him. That was when Zhou Qingxian began to accept me, and later on, she even grew fond of sticking by my side. Memories, like scenes from a film, come back to me when I least expect it. The memories remain, but that person is no longer the one in my heart. After spending a few days in Tibet, I followed the group to another destination, to ski on the Jade Dragon Snow Mountain. I once asked Zhou Qingxian to go see the snow with me. Being from the south, I've always loved watching it fall, but he was always so busy, to the point where I felt bad asking him again. I bent down, scooped up a handful of snow, and was just about to indulge in building a snowman when a voice suddenly called out to me. It was my senior from university, a gentle and refined man. After graduation, he had emigrated abroad with his parents, and I hadn't seen him since. Jinning, it really is you, long time no see, Senior Gu. We exchanged a smile, as if there were 1,000 things left unsaid. We found a quiet spot, and no sooner had we sat down in the pavilion than it began to snow outside. We Southerners and Northerners really complement each other. They love our seas, while we adore their snowfall. No sooner had I spoken than I spotted a figure in the distance, one I absolutely loathed. Zhou Qingxian actually managed to track me down. Jinning, I've finally found you. I've been going out of my mind since you disappeared. Zhou Qingxian approached from a distance, and it was only when he was almost upon me that I noticed how much thinner he seemed, with dark circles under his eyes, but his hands were restless. The moment he got close, he tried to pull me into an embrace. I took 2 steps back to avoid his grasp, only to stumble right into Gu Ting's arms. It was only then that Zhou Qingxian noticed the man behind me, and his expression instantly darkened. Who is he? Were you with him all this time you were gone? Zhou Qingxian had always been aloof and composed. I had never seen such a twisted, hateful, and utterly uncontrolled expression on his face before. Not even when he treated me that way for Lu Cici's sake had he looked like this. I steadied myself and apologized to Gu Ting. I never thought my issues with Zhou Qingxian would drag an innocent person into this. What nonsense are you spouting? Do you think everyone is like you, playing the field? Faced with my furious, low growl, Zhou Qingxian was momentarily stunned. I had hit a nerve. It's only a few days now until we get the divorce papers. Isn't that exactly what you wanted? Why aren't you with your precious Lu Cici? What are you doing here? Zhou Qingxian hurried to explain. That's not true at all. I was just betting that you still cared about me, that you'd never have the heart to actually sign. That's why I acted so recklessly towards you. Darling, I know I was wrong. I've already kicked Lu Cici out, and I've had the whole place cleaned. Please come home with me. Let's not get divorced. As Zhou Qingxian spoke, he reached out to take my hand, but I forcefully shook him off, as if he were something filthy, untouchable. Do you know why I've been avoiding you? It was because I was afraid you'd suddenly change your mind and cling to me desperately, but I'm not afraid of you pestering me anymore. No matter what you do, I'm getting that divorce decree by the end of this month. When a man cheats, the fault lies not with the other woman, but with his own restless, unfaithful heart. One Lu Cici leaves, and there will be a second and a third to take her place. Zhou Qingxian stood there, a picture of panic and helplessness, with no idea how to win me back. Without another word to him, I turned and headed back to my quarters. After Gu Ting learned of my situation, he stayed with me in silent companionship. He found a Xiao flute and began to play a melody. It was a piece I loved, called Eternal Heart. Back in our university days, we used to play sonatas together during music class. I played the guzheng, and Gu Ting played the xiao. Our instruments harmonized perfectly, and together we performed the most beautiful melodies. Thank you, Gu Ting, he said, lowering the xiao and looking at me. Feeling any better? Much better. That's good. You know, even though it's been years, I still understand your temperament. If you go quiet, something's definitely on your mind. You've weathered the worst storms. Don't let a little puddle capsize your boat now. His words struck a chord, and just like that, a weight lifted from my shoulders. Before I could speak, Zhou Qingxian emerged from the shadows and approached once more. You still claim there's nothing between you, yet he even understands your personality. Tell me the truth, is it because of him that you're so dead set on divorcing me? His grating words reached my ears. My face darkened as I glared at Zhou Qingxian, who was gnashing his teeth. From the start of this whole mess between us until now, he has never once looked for the cause within himself. He was the one who cheated, yet he's the one acting so righteous. If that's what you think, then fine. I'm exhausted. If saying this will make him give up, I don't mind saying it. Under the silent eaves, all sound vanished in an instant. Zhou Qingxian stood there, utterly dumbfounded, faced with my resolute stance. He was at a complete loss. Just then, Lu Cici's voice cut through the air. Qingxian, you see, you have nothing to feel guilty about. While we were together, she was surely begging for pleasure under some other man. The one who has always loved you the most is me. As Lu Cici stepped out, I walked right up to her and gave her a hard, resounding slap across the face. If you dare slander me again, I'll mail those compromising photos of you too, the ones where you were literally stuck together, to your parents. Let's see how they raised someone with such a complete lack of morals, turning you into a shameless homewrecker. Go ahead and try, if you've got a death wish, Lu Cici retorted, clutching her reddened cheek, her whole body trembling with rage, yet she didn't dare say more, only casting a pleading look at Zhou Qingxian, hoping he would speak up for her. But even his face was flushed red with a mix of humiliation and anger. Gu Ting, feigning ignorance, asked, what the hell, stuck together? I didn't hold back and laid it out right in front of them. They got themselves stuck while having an affair, couldn't separate, and I was the one who had to perform this separation surgery. Gu Ting let out an unapologetic laugh, and it suddenly struck me that he could be quite devious too. Enough, stop talking. Yes, I did something wrong, and I've apologized to you, but could you please not be so aggressive? Me, aggressive, what a joke. You're the one who chased after me and wouldn't let go. I never forced you. Looking at Zhou Qingxuan's face, the more I looked, the more disgusted I felt. I turned to leave. Another glance at him would require I bleach. Seeing me about to leave, Zhou Qingxian suddenly grabbed Gu Ting. She's still my wife. Have some decency and don't follow her. As soon as he finished speaking, he swung a fist at Gu Ting. I quickly shielded him behind me. Zhou Qingxian, as I recall. We both signed the divorce papers. Who exactly are you calling your wife? Go take a look at yourself in the mirror. Zhou Qingxuan's face turned pale, then flushed with anger. His hands clenched so tightly they trembled. Suddenly, overwhelmed by rage, he coughed up a mouthful of blood. Seeing this, Lu Cici grew anxious and tried to support him, but he pushed her away with one hand. Stop bothering me, get lost. I knew exactly what he was thinking at that moment. He was trying to play on my sympathy, hoping I'd go over and help him up, but I replied with detached calm. It's just a bit of blood, it's not like you're dying. Only then did Zhou Qingxian truly understand that when I said I didn't want him, I meant it. He could only watch helplessly as I walked away. The moment I was gone, he unleashed all his fury on Lu Cici. This is all your fault. Why did you have to come looking for me? If you hadn't shown up, maybe Jinning would have forgiven me. You deserve to die. Zhou Qingxian lunged forward, one hand closing around Lu Cici's throat. Out of control, he looked utterly terrifying. Lu Cici's face was turning purple from the choking. She lifted her foot and kicked him hard in the groin. The pain made him release his grip, and the two continued to struggle. Finally, they tumbled down the steps, with Zhou Qingxuan's leg suffering the most severe injury. When I found out, I felt nothing inside. Zhou Qingxian was taken to the hospital for treatment. He called me, hoping I would come see him. I refused point blank. Since I had decided to let go, I wasn't going to leave any loose ends. After the trip ended, I returned to the hospital to continue my work. Because of the injury to Zhou Qingxuan's leg, the trip to finalize the divorce was postponed. He used this as an excuse, claiming everywhere that he couldn't walk, trying to stall for more time. I threw his recovery scan results in his face. Stop pretending, you've been able to walk for a while now. Remember to be on time at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. Zhou Qingxian grabbed my hand, his face a picture of dejection. His eyes quickly reddened as he looked at me with a pleading tone. Jinning, is there really no going back for us? If you give me one more chance, I swear I'll never cheat again. If I do, may I be struck by lightning and die a wretched death. I raised my hand and pried open Zhou Qingxuan's tightly clenched fingers. One by one, your promises are worthless. I won't repeat myself. Remember to arrive early tomorrow. Zhou Qingxian finally understood just how resolute my decision to divorce him was. The next morning, he arrived late. I didn't give him time to stall. leading him straight into the Civil Affairs Bureau. As the official seal came down, Zhou Qingxuan's eyelids drooped. His face ashen. We were finally, officially divorced. The moment I stepped outside, Gu Ting pulled up in his car and handed me a bouquet of roses. Wishing you a new beginning, thank you, Zhou Qingxian called out as he ran after me. Jinning, will you marry him? I didn't answer. Instead, I looked up at a flock of birds passing in the distance. Zhou Qingxian, I'm only 30. If I meet the right person later on, of course I'll get married. Upon hearing her answer, Zhou Qingxian gave a bitter smile, tears welling in his eyes. After returning home, he had a huge argument with his mother. He blamed her for constantly meddling in his love life, saying it was suffocating. That very night, he got drunk, drove under the influence, got into a car crash, and was left lying on the main road, clinging to life. At the same time, Lu Cixi, harboring a deep grudge against Zhou's mother, returned to the Zhou residence. A violent altercation ensued, and both women were stabbed multiple times, ultimately succumbing to their wounds from severe blood loss. When I learned of their fates, I could only say it was their just deserts. Their affairs didn't disturb my peace of mind. From now on, I'm going to take good care of myself. Story 2. After my rebirth, I finally stopped pestering the grand tutor, Li Yunan. He complained I was always chattering away, unbecoming of a princess, so in his presence I fell utterly silent, as still and quiet as a wooden doll. He accused me of clinging to him obsessively, tarnishing his impeccable reputation and dragging a man of his sterling character into the mire of gossip. So, I asked my father, the emperor, to assign me a new tutor. He also claimed my actions had caused the one he truly loved to misunderstand and grow distant from him. In response, I scrupulously avoided any hint of impropriety and publicly declared that I had long since ceased to have feelings for him. In the end, he said that as a princess, I was spoiled and selfish, that I had no sense of greater duty in my heart, and was utterly ignorant of the suffering of the common people, and so, I volunteered to marry into the enemy kingdom, securing decades of peace between our two nations. In this life, every choice I make is the opposite of the ones I made in my past life. Because in my previous life, I pestered and pleaded relentlessly until I finally succeeded in getting my father, the emperor, to arrange my marriage to Li Yunan. A few days after our wedding, the fifth princess, Li Yunan's beloved, took her own life. Upon hearing the news, Li Yunan remained utterly unmoved. Instead, he grew closer to me, only to bribe the midwife on the day of my labor. He watched coldly as I struggled through a day and night of difficult childbirth. Dying in agony, a tragic end for both mother and child. Given a second chance, I have no other desire but to survive. Later, I went to a neighboring kingdom for a political marriage. I returned hand in hand with its new emperor to visit my homeland, our deep affection for each other becoming the envy of all. Li Yunan blocked our carriage, his voice hoarse as he spoke. Your Highness, I have come to regret my actions. Your Royal Highness, the third princess. The Grand Tutor has given orders not to admit you. The gatekeeper's voice rang in my ears. For a moment, I was dazed, then overwhelmed with wild joy. Today is the flower viewing party hosted by the Grand Tutor, Li Yunan. At his residence, many high-ranking officials and nobles are in attendance, yet I alone have been turned away at the gate. But at this moment, I feel not a shred of humiliation. On the contrary, I am positively elated, for I have been reborn. Everyone believes I am unworthy of Li Yunan. At such a young age, he has already risen to the position of Grand Tutor. Not only is he exceptionally handsome, but his talent is also widely admired. As for me, I am merely a princess born of a low-ranking concubine. My birth mother passed away long ago, leaving me in a precarious position within the palace, neither here nor there. My status even lower than that of a favored consort's had made, due to a drunken promise from the emperor, who mistakenly referred to the fifth princess as the third. Li Yunan became my tutor, responsible for my daily studies. It was obvious to everyone that Li Yunan was deeply displeased by this, yet he dared not defy the emperor's decree. Consequently, he took out his frustrations on me. To this, the emperor turned a blind eye. He could never admit his mistake, and as I was merely an unfavored princess, a little hardship was of no consequence. Take today, for instance. This flower-viewing banquet invited every prince and princess, yet I alone was barred at the gate. In my past life, I waited outside for what felt like an eternity, until the moon rose above the willow branches, before returning to the palace utterly dejected. The result was that I fell gravely ill upon my return, nearly losing my life. Political rivals seized upon this incident, submitting a memorial against Li Yunan. This led to him receiving a severe reprimand from the emperor, who then used the affair as a pretext to arrange a marriage between him and me, a move intended as a warning. To my utter shock, just days after Li Yunan and I were wed, the fifth princess drank poisoned wine and took her own life. Upon hearing the news, Li Yunan merely gave a non-committal before resuming our wedding night. After the marriage, he treated me with such exceeding kindness that I was almost overwhelmed, believing I had finally touched his heart. Yet, on the very day I went into labor, I discovered Li Yunan had bribed the midwife to ensure a difficult birth. I suffered in agony for a full day and night before finally succumbing. He stood right by the window, his gaze icy as he watched my face contort in agony. If it weren't for you, why would Ayue have been driven to such despair that she took her own life? Go and atone to her in the afterlife. Yet, after my death, the fifth princess, Qinyu, returned. She never died at all. Instead, she had taken a feigned death elixir to escape the palace and avoid the political marriage to the neighboring kingdom. Li Yunan, who always claimed to be selfless and impartial, went all out to cover for her. He twisted the story of her faking her death to escape, framing it as my attempt to murder her, from which she barely escaped with her life. In the end, I was the only one who ended up dead. Thankfully, heaven has eyes. It gave me a second chance. I will live well this time and stay far away from Li Yunan. Under the gaze of the crowd, filled with malice and mockery, I turned and left without a word, boarding the carriage back to the palace. After returning to my quarters, I poured myself a cup of tea and let out a long, weary sigh. For the past 3 years, my feelings for Li Yunan have been an open secret, known to all. Though I may be an unfavored princess, I still willingly set aside my status to cook for Li Yunan, even personally making the pastries he enjoys. Li Yunan once mentioned his admiration for the calligraphy and paintings of the master Huang Qi. I went to great lengths to search far and wide, repeatedly beseeching the owners, until I finally secured an authentic piece as his birthday gift. Once, he disagreed with the emperor on a matter of state. In a fit of rage, the emperor sentenced him to 20 lashes. I knelt beside him, pleading desperately, and stubbornly took the punishment in his stead, beaten until my flesh was torn and bloody. Li Yunan once mentioned he loved the peach blossom grove south of the city. When the blossoms were in full bloom, I joyfully invited him for a visit. He agreed, but on the day of our outing, he brought along the fifth princess, Qinyu. The two of them walked hand in hand, thoroughly enjoying each other's company. As for me, because Li Yunan asked me to break off a peach blossom branch, I was bitten by a venomous insect and nearly lost my life. Looking back on everything that happened, I feel as if I had taken leave of my senses, recklessly risking my life just to cling to Li Yunan. Now, all I want is to live, and the first thing I must do is stay far away from Li Yunan. The next day, I didn't go to find Li Yunan, but he came to me instead, cornering me in the imperial gardens. Qin Sheng, you petitioned His Majesty to have me removed as your tutor. He broke protocol by not addressing me as Your Highness for the first time. Clear proof he was absolutely furious. I was genuinely confused and replied bluntly, "What's the matter, Grand Tutor Li? Haven't you always resented teaching me? This all started with my father's drunken slip of the tongue. Now we're merely correcting that mistake." Li Yunan's breathing grew ragged. He stared at me intently before suddenly letting out a cold laugh. "Is this your ploy, Your Highness, trying to manipulate me with this playing hard to get tactic? You are a princess of this dynasty, yet you show no concern for the state or its people. Instead, you waste your days mastering the petty, underhanded tricks of the inner court. Truly, you are beyond all hope." My heart has long grown numb, so hearing this didn't bring me the slightest sorrow. Instead, I calmly retorted, "When I asked you to be my teacher, you thought I was pestering you. Now that I no longer want you as my teacher, you say I'm playing hard to get." Li Yunan, Grand Tutor Li, tell me, what would it take to satisfy you? Just then, Qinyu approached and said in a coquettish tone, "Third sister, you can't really blame Yunan for this. Given all the outrageous things you did to pursue him in the past, it's only natural he'd be wary." Li Yunan, who had begun to waver under my questioning, turned a gaze on me that instantly grew several degrees colder. Watching this scene unfold, a bitter taste filled my heart. Ever since Princess Qinyu, who had been living in obscurity among the common people, was found and brought back to the palace by my father 3 years ago, Li Yunan's attention had gradually been completely captivated by her. In a desperate bid to reclaim his attention, I tearfully declared I'd never speak to him again and proceeded to give him the cold shoulder for a full fortnight. Then, during the subsequent royal hunt, my horse inexplicably spooked and bolted straight towards Qinyu, frightening her so severely that she fell gravely ill. No matter how I tried to explain myself, nobody would believe me. From that moment on, Li Yunan's indifference towards me curdled into outright disgust. He couldn't even stand the sight of me. All the other noble ladies in the capital who were close to Qin Yu, along with my royal brothers, joined forces to ostracize and isolate me. I let out a soft sigh and said to Li Yunan, "It was all my fault in the past, I shouldn't have clung to you. From now on, I never will again. This isn't some ploy of playing hard to get. I genuinely want to set things right and return you to my fifth sister." Yet Li Yunan's eyes were filled with nothing but mockery and distrust. He simply didn't believe I would truly stop pestering him. Qin Yu stepped forward, taking my hand with a show of affection. "Yunan," she said gently, "please believe me. I truly think she's realized her mistake. Sister, my birthday banquet is in a few days. Won't you come and join the festivities? After all, there aren't many in the capital who are even willing to speak with you." I refused with an impassive expression. "I'd rather not spoil your fun," but Qin Yu was relentless. Refusing to let go of my hand. "Sister, please come celebrate my birthday with me. I was so looking forward to you." Before she could finish her sentence, she suddenly staggered sideways and plunged headlong into the pond. It looked as if she had been shoved violently from behind. Li Yunan reacted swiftly, grabbing her just in time to prevent a disaster. Qin Yu leaned weakly into Li Yunan's arms, looking at me with wide, shocked eyes. "Sister, why would you do that? I was only inviting you with good intentions." Before I could utter a word, Li Yunan roared in fury, "Qin Sheng, how could you be so vicious? Ayue is your own sister." With that, he slapped me hard across the face, the impact instantly swelling one side of my cheek. "And to think Ayue always spoke so highly of you in front of me. Now I see you for what you truly are, a hopeless, venomous shrew. If you dare use any more of your underhanded, harem-born tricks on Ayue again, I swear I will make you pay, even if you are a princess." The slap sent me sprawling to the floor. As the roar echoed in my ears, my head swam with dizziness. After a long moment, I murmured, "I'll stay out of your way from now on. Don't worry, you'll never see me again. That would be for the best," Li Yunan said coldly. With that, he helped Qin Yu to her feet, and the two of them walked away together, a picture-perfect couple. I touched my swollen cheek and gave a bitter smile. Memories I had long buried suddenly resurfaced in that moment. In the past, Li Yunan was actually very good to me. I was only 12 years old then. My mother, a concubine, had passed away early, and I was being bullied by the palace maids. It was Li Yunan who happened to pass by. He sternly reprimanded those maids and brought my situation to the emperor's attention. That was how I finally came into my father's view and, from then on, had enough to eat and wear. From that day on, I saw him as my benefactor and would always follow him around. He, in turn, was very kind to me, always bringing me treats and trinkets from outside the palace to cheer me up. I returned to my own courtyard with a swollen, red face, yet no one dared to ask what happened along the way. The palace maids and eunuchs, ever skilled at judging who held power, dared not offend Li Yunan or Qin Yu and simply pretended not to see a thing. For the next several days, I kept to my own quarters, hiding away. I counted the days, and only when the date arrived, the day when, in my past life, the envoys from the neighboring kingdom came to seek a marriage alliance, did I finally set out for my father's study. After paying my respects to the emperor, my first words were, "Your son is willing to go for the political marriage." Upon hearing this, my father was taken aback. "But the one seeking the alliance from that neighboring kingdom is their new emperor, who once served as a hostage in our court. He is sure to harbor deep resentment towards our people. If you go, your life there will likely be very difficult." I said calmly, "Father, as a princess of this dynasty, it is my duty to serve the kingdom. If my life can secure peace between our two nations, I am willing to make that sacrifice." The emperor's gaze was complex, but then he smiled. "Truly, you are my daughter. Very well, I hereby bestow upon you the title of Princess Yong'an. You shall be married with the highest honors." Upon leaving the imperial study, I ran straight into Li Yunan. The first thing he said upon seeing me was, "Your Highness, the third princess, where have you been all these days?" I said flatly, "Didn't I already say I'd stay out of your way and keep my distance?" Li Yunan sneered, "When have you ever kept your word? Don't forget how you used to hound me relentlessly. If you're truly sincere about turning over a new leaf, you should get as far away as possible. Disappear to the ends of the earth." I stared at him for a moment before replying slowly, "Fine, I promise." The very next day, before the entire court, my father the emperor declared me the princess of eternal peace, betrothed to the new emperor of the neighboring kingdom to secure an alliance. The procession set out that same day. A grand and imposing caravan that passed through the city gates and began its long journey toward the distant capital of the neighboring realm, jostled about in the carriage. We had traveled only a short distance when I thought I heard faint, distant shouts from behind us. A guard outside the carriage called in, "Your Highness, it seems Grand Tutor Li is catching up. Shall we stop?" "Li Yunan, what's he chasing after me for?" "To warn me to behave myself from now on," I frowned and said coolly. "Don't stop, keep going, he's just someone of no consequence." But the very next moment, the carriage jolted. Li Yunan yanked the curtain aside, glaring at me with a look that seemed to be grinding his teeth in frustration. "Someone of no consequence, Qin Sheng, you seem to have forgotten how you used to chase after me." He reached out to grab my wrist, but I recoiled into the carriage and said coldly, "Grand Tutor Li, I must ask you to show some restraint. I am now a princess on my way to a political marriage in a neighboring kingdom. Your behavior is utterly improper." Li Yunan gritted his teeth. "His Majesty said you volunteered for this marriage alliance. Who made you do it?" I replied calmly. "Didn't Grand Tutor Li himself tell me to get as far away as possible, preferably to the ends of the earth? Well, now I am leaving. I'm not even staying within the borders of Qin. You should be pleased." Li Yunan met my icy gaze and was left speechless, completely at a loss for words. It suddenly dawned on him that I truly intended to leave him, to vanish from his life forever, yet he refused to acknowledge this reality. And even more so, he couldn't bear to admit that I simply no longer cared. A moment later, he spoke, his voice thick with anger. "You will come back with me this instant. I will beg His Majesty to send someone else for the marriage alliance. Isn't this just your ploy? Playing hard to get? State affairs are not a game, you." Before he could finish, I could bear it no longer and slapped him across the face. "Enough, Li Yunan, is that all you ever think about? Let me make this clear, even if I did chase after you when I was young, I stopped liking you a long time ago. As the Grand Tutor of the court, have you given any thought to the people of our two nations? All you talk about is romance and sentimentality. I am truly disappointed, Your Highness. If you have any recollection of your station, you will return at once to your duties as Grand Tutor. Serve your country faithfully, instead of causing a scene here and stirring up conflict between our nations." Li Yunan, you were always lecturing me with rules and grand ideals of duty to the family and state. How laughable that I only see it clearly now. You're nothing but a hypocrite, preaching one thing while doing another. A selfish and petty man. I didn't hold back my voice. Shouting those words out felt incredibly cathartic, a relief to both body and mind. In my past life, I endured so much grievance from him and Qinyu, suffering countless unwarranted reprimands and humiliations without daring to speak up. Now, I've finally given it all back. All they ever do is pick me apart, criticizing this and that about me. But are they themselves flawless saints? The slap landed with considerable force, leaving Li Yunan's face swollen on one side. His hair was disheveled. Presenting a thoroughly wretched sight, he stared at me in disbelief, his lips moving soundlessly as no words came out. I lifted my head and looked toward the guard by the carriage. Due to the strong wind, he wore a face covering, but his posture alone appeared tall, straight, and dependable. "Please pull him away, we mustn't delay the journey." The guard obeyed, reaching out to pull Li Yunan away, yet he clung desperately to the carriage door, his eyes bloodshot as he stared at me. In their depths was a mix of fury and hatred, along with an inscrutable emotion I couldn't quite name. I didn't look at him again, speaking with deliberate nonchalance. "Among the Qin princesses of marriageable age, besides me, there is only the fifth princess, Qinyu, who was recently found and returned. If I do not go for this political marriage, the duty will inevitably fall upon her." As soon as the words left my lips, Li Yunan's strength seemed to drain from him completely. The guards forcibly dragged him away and unceremoniously shoved him to the side of the road. The carriage gradually drew away into the distance, leaving him behind. How ironic. I thought he chased after me for a reason. But the moment he heard Qinyu might be sent for a political marriage, he immediately fell silent. It's obvious he's in love with Qinyu, so why is he chasing after me now? What on earth is he thinking? Whatever. None of this has anything to do with me anymore. He can do as he pleases. The journey was unbearably dull. The soldiers and maids in the entourage didn't dare speak to me. Only the guard stationed outside would chat with me to pass the time. His voice sounded strangely familiar, but I couldn't quite place where I'd heard it before, so I asked, "Sir, have we met somewhere before?" The guard chuckled. "Your Highness flatters me. How could a humble servant like myself have had the honor of meeting you?" I still had my doubts. But seeing he was reluctant to say more, I let the matter drop. After more than half a month of travel by carriage, I was utterly exhausted. I couldn't help but ask, How much longer until we reach the capital of you? The guard outside replied, Your Highness, we have about 4 hours journey remaining. Slightly relieved, I lay down on the soft couch inside the carriage, intending to take a short nap. I don't know how much time had passed when the carriage suddenly jolted to a halt. Dazed, I sat up, only for the curtain to be pulled aside and a hand to reach inside. A guard's voice sounded beside me, Your Highness, we have arrived. After a moment's hesitation, I grasped his wrist and stepped down from the carriage. Outside, a crowd of people had already knelt on the ground, their thunderous cries echoing, We welcome your Majesty's return to the palace. Your Majesty. I froze. The newly crowned emperor. Why haven't I seen him? They say the new emperor is temperamental and cruel. His harem remains empty. No one dares send their daughters to their doom. As a princess here, I wonder how long I'll last. I just hope he won't take out the resentment from his time as a hostage in Qin on me, so I can live a little longer. Lost in these thoughts, I scanned the room for the emperor, only to realize the only people standing were me and my guards. How dare this guard be so insolent as to not kneel? We stared at each other, and after a long moment, he suddenly smiled. The guard removed the mask from his face, revealing features so handsome they were almost otherworldly, and looked at me with a beaming smile. That face was far too distinctive. I recognized it instantly and was utterly stunned, blurting out, Xiao Qingzi. At these words, all the kneeling figures began to tremble, as if I had committed some unspeakable treason. Each one terrified the calamity would fall upon them. Yet Xiao Qingzi, standing before me, merely smiled. He then waved his hand to dismiss the others and led me back to the palace. In my childhood, I was not favored in the palace and lived little better than a maid, at the mercy of anyone who wished to slight me. As for Xiao Qingzi, he was a young eunuch I was close to. We kept each other company for several years, weathering many difficult times together. But when I was 12, Xiao Qingzi vanished without a trace. I searched for him for ages but couldn't find him, and I even thought he had died. It broke my heart for a long time. I wasn't so clueless as to be a complete fool. It dawned on me right away. So you're the hostage prince that you sent to our court. Yu Qing looked genuinely pleased, not showing a hint of the notorious cruelty he was rumored to possess. He said, Yes, it's me. I hid my true identity back then so you wouldn't resent me. Xing Sheng. I heard you volunteered for this political marriage. I'm so pleased. I thought Li Yunan was the only one you ever cared for. I fell silent, at a loss for words. In my past life, it was true, Li Yunan was my whole world. Everyone knew I was constantly chasing after him, his most devoted, hopeless admirer. Perhaps Yu Qing knew this all too well. That's why he never suggested sending me here. Even if he had, I would have fought tooth and nail against it, or been sent by force only to become his bitter enemy. I couldn't help but ask, what if I hadn't volunteered for the marriage alliance? Yu Qing was in the midst of removing the intricate hairpins from my head. At my words, her hand stilled for a moment before she smiled, as if nothing were amiss. For two nations to coexist in peace, a marriage alliance is always necessary. It has been this way since ancient times. There is simply no alternative. But if it weren't you, then anyone would do. Xing Sheng. If you truly love Li Yunan, I am willing to step aside for you. Even if it were another princess who came, I would treat her well and would never harm her life. I shook my head. I stopped caring for Li Yunan long ago. He's nothing but a beast who can't tell right from wrong. Hearing this, Yu Qing seemed pleased. His eyes crinkled, yet he said, Is that so? If you still have lingering feelings for him, I could. I quickly covered his mouth and chided, What's wrong with you? Why are you so determined to have me find someone else? Since I chose to come for a political marriage to ensure peace between our nations, I have no regrets. Li Yunan and I are completely finished. But he seemed displeased, his tone odd as he asked, Just for the sake of peace between the nations? I was taken aback for a moment before I understood his meaning. I quickly shook my head. No, Qing, if I had known the new emperor of you was you, I would have been even more eager to come. Yu Qing was finally satisfied and gently took my hand. Xing Sheng. I'm so sorry for making you wait all this time. I was too young back then, with no say in the matter. When I had to return to my country, I didn't even get the chance to say goodbye. I understand. I truly do. Back then, he was just like me, living under someone else's roof, with no control over his own life or death. When he left, he was probably just thrown into a carriage without any warning. How could he have possibly come to bid me farewell? I had braced myself for a living hell upon arriving in you, only to be met with a joyful reunion with an old friend. Truly, a ray of light after the darkest hour. Half a month later, the kingdom of Yu held the coronation ceremony, and I became Yu Qing's empress. The emperor and empress were deeply devoted to each other after their marriage, a picture of perfect harmony. The rumors of the new emperor's tyranny and cruelty were thus thoroughly debunked. This prompted the high-ranking officials and nobles to hatch new schemes, plotting to send their own daughters into the imperial harem to vie for favor and secure a share of the spoils. Before I could even speak, Yu Qing cut in defiantly, in front of the entire court. He flung the memorial urging him to expand his harem to the ground and sneered, "My heart belongs to the empress alone. If you insist on sending your daughters to the palace, so be it. For every one that enters, I will have one executed. Furthermore, I have no interest in those women. If you truly wish to control the inner court, why not send your sons instead?" At these words, the ministers fell into a dead silence. Yu Qing was no longer the restrained hostage prince of old. Now, with the centralization of power in the state of Yu, the authority over life and death rested solely in his hands. No one dared to oppose him. Those ministers would never dream of sending their sons into the imperial harem. In their eyes, a son is meant to inherit the family legacy. How could he possibly become a consort to the emperor? The matter was quietly dropped. Back in the palace, as I helped Yu Qing out of his outer robe, I teased him. "What would you do if someone actually got the idea to send their unloved, illegitimate son to be your consort?" Yu Qing pinched my cheek, utterly unconcerned. "If they really sent one in, we'd have him castrated and assigned to serve as a little eunuch by the empress's side." I laughed. "Shouldn't he be my personal male concubine instead?" Yu Qing wasn't angry. Instead, he leaned against me and said, "That won't do. The empress only needs one male consort, and that's me. Ever since I arrived in Yu Qing has spoiled me beyond measure. Unlike Li Yunan, he would rush to present any treasure he found directly into my hands. Having been granted a second chance at life, I wouldn't lose myself or become arrogant from his favor. I only grew more grateful, and our bond deepened. Another year passed. For my father's 50th birthday, Yu Qing personally escorted me back to the Qing kingdom to offer our congratulations at the celebratory banquet. This year has seen frequent exchanges between our two nations. The people live in peace and growing prosperity, which has even lifted my father the emperor's spirits considerably. A smile hasn't left his face. As for Li Yunan, seated towards the back, his gaze remained fixed on me throughout the banquet. It was impossible to ignore, yet bound by propriety and my station, I had no choice but to pretend not to notice. He seemed to be in a poor state, somewhat haggard, with a trace of madness flickering in the depths of his eyes. Most importantly, the fifth princess, Qin Yu, was not by his side. What's going on? A doubt crept into my mind. Could it be that Qin Yu had met with misfortune after all? But I am already married into the kingdom of Yu and have long since stopped pestering Li Yunan. I haven't meddled in their affairs at all. Surely this can't be blamed on me as well. However, it was bitterly cold outside, and charcoal braziers had been lit in the banquet hall. After the event, I felt a bit stifled and short of breath, so I suggested taking a stroll in the imperial gardens to get some fresh air. Yu Qing was detained by my father for some matters to discuss. He clearly wished to accompany me but couldn't get away, so he could only repeatedly urge me to be extra careful. Returning after a year's absence and gazing upon the familiar scenery, my heart was filled with emotion. I instructed my maids to wait outside. Deciding to wander alone, I was about to continue on my way when someone suddenly blocked my path. Li Yunan's eyes were slightly red as he stared straight at me. "Xing Sheng, I've finally seen you again," I said coolly. "Grand Tutor Li, please mind your manners. You should address me as Empress." At these words, his face paled. After a long moment, he smiled bitterly and said, "Xing Sheng, ever since you left for the political marriage, I've thought of you day and night, remembering our past. How did we end up like this?" I was utterly stunned by his sheer audacity. Taking a step back, I said coldly, "Grand Tutor Li, you should be asking yourself that. Did you not already take the fifth princess as your wife?" To my surprise, a look of disgust flashed in Li Yunan's eyes. "Don't mention that vile woman. I already know everything." Back at the royal hunting grounds, she was the one who had someone drug your horse beforehand. That's why it charged at her. It was all part of her scheme, and she isn't even a real princess. She murdered the true fifth princess, stole her tokens and identity. All these years, she's been nothing but a venomous usurper living in another's rightful place. I was stunned. Being in the state of Yu, news from Qin doesn't reach me easily. And a secret of this magnitude, essentially a royal scandal, would never be allowed to leak out. So Qin Yu was never the fifth princess. The real fifth princess is already dead. No wonder she was in such a hurry to latch onto Li Yunan. She was probably trying to secure a powerful patron for herself. Li Yunan continued. When His Majesty learned of this, He flew into a towering rage, however. Allowing this affair to become public would damage the imperial family's dignity, therefore. I have arranged for Qinyu to succumb to illness, died of illness. I was stunned once more. The message conveyed in these words was crystal clear. After Li Yunan married Qinyu, he discovered her identity was a forgery. It was all a lie. On his father the emperor's orders, he had Qinyu killed and then announced to the public that she had died of illness, just like in my past life. Making a woman quietly pass away from an illness is all too easy. In that instant, I suddenly realized how utterly ridiculous my past life's fate was. It was nothing short of a cosmic joke. So this is all their so-called love amounted to. Even without me in the way, they couldn't make it work. What, then, did I suffer that fate for in my past life? Was it my own foolishness, for falling in love with a beast in human skin, from start to finish? It was never my fault, even without me. Qinyu would have died anyway. She would have died by Li Yunan's hand. This man is absolutely terrifying. In our past life, he killed me for Qinyu's sake, and in this life, he killed Qinyu. How dare he have the nerve to come back and ask for a second chance? Li Yunan, completely oblivious to the fury burning in my eyes, grabbed my wrist and pleaded earnestly, Xingxing, it was all that wretched Qinyu's fault. If it weren't for her, I would never have misunderstood you. And I certainly wouldn't have treated you that way. She's gone now. I poisoned her with my own hands. After all the torment she put you through, consider it my vengeance on your behalf. Xingxing, I regret it. I never should have sent you away for that political marriage. Please, come back to me. It's only now I realize, it's you I truly love. Have you truly forgotten? That year, I was the one who saved you from the palace maids. After that, you saw me as your savior. You followed me everywhere. Begged me to be your tutor. Just so you could be by my side every moment. Xingxing, you like me best, don't you? I struggled with all my might, but his strength overpowered mine. In furious desperation, I cried out, Grand Tutor Li, have some self-respect. I am the empress of you. Yet Li Yunan seemed to have lost his mind, his eyes bloodshot as he stared at me. Xingxing, I'm truly going mad. For this entire year, I've thought of you every single moment. Only now do I realize that without you, my life is utterly meaningless. I was such a fool, only learning to cherish you after I lost you. Come back to me. Let's leave the palace together and live as free spirits, like a pair of wild cranes in the clouds, won't you? I know you love me. How could you, who loves me so deeply, ever be content as the empress of you? I said sharply. Li Yunan, let me make this clear one more time. I stopped loving you long ago. All I feel for you now is disgust. You used to constantly accuse me of lacking perspective and having no concern for our nation and its people. Do you have any idea what consequences your actions now will bring? If conflict breaks out between our two nations, it's the common people who will suffer. But Li Yunan just laughed. He gripped my wrist tightly, his voice hoarse. So what? As long as you're by my side. That's all that matters. I don't believe you. How could you possibly not love me anymore? You loved me so much once, you would have died for me. No matter how I cursed or humiliated you, you'd always come crawling back. You can't do this, Xingxing, you can't. You're supposed to love me forever, to have eyes only for me. How could you not love me? A chill settled in my heart. So he knew all along that he had been humiliating me in the past. Enough, calm down, people change. The only one I love now is you, Qing. Li Yunan, you're not even fit to lick his boots. What gives you the right to throw a tantrum here? Li Yunan tried to speak, but was suddenly kicked hard. Caught completely off guard, he was sent flying several meters away. Yu Qing took my hand, pushed up my sleeve, and gently rubbed my sore wrist, a hint of amusement in his voice. I had no idea I was held in such high esteem by Her Majesty the Empress, yet even as he spoke, his gaze towards Li Yunan was piercingly cold, more severe than the wintry storm filling the garden. I retorted with annoyance. Was he, when compared to a despicable scoundrel like Li Yunan, I suppose anyone would seem like a paragon of virtue. Yu Qing merely smiled. He stepped forward and, without a hint of courtesy, proceeded to beat Li Yunan soundly. After all, Li Yunan was a scholar. How could he possibly be a match for him? He was soon beaten to a pitiful state, looking as wretched as a street vagrant. Yet, he still kept his eyes fixed on me, muttering to himself, I don't believe it, I don't believe it. How could you possibly despise me? You clearly loved. Yu Qing cut him off impatiently. Grand Tutor Li, you have some nerve, daring to flirt with my empress. Do you have a death wish? In the past, my empress was merely young and naive. A few scraps of kindness were enough for her to cling to someone like a lifeline. Did you really think your charm was boundless? Now that I am by her side, how could she possibly spare a glance for a worthless wretch like you? The Empress is right. You're not even fit to be compared to my little finger. How dare you think of competing with me for her? Even after saying this, his anger was not fully vented. He raised his leg and stomped viciously on Li Yuanen's face twice. He ground the other's face into the slushy mud left by the melting snow, treating him like trash. Only then did Li Yunan realize with a jolt that I was no longer the neglected princess he could bully at will, but the queen held in the palm of the emperor's hand. The third princess of the past was a mere pawn in their games, a puppet to be humiliated at will. No one cared what indignities she suffered, even her death would have caused barely a ripple, but the Qingxing of today was the queen of Yu. Even the emperor of this dynasty had to treat her with due respect and dared not show the slightest discourtesy. Leaning against Yu Qing, I was no longer the timid, submissive person I once was. I spoke with calm composure. Grand Tutor Li, this will likely be the last time I address you by that title. Very soon, you will no longer be fit to wear those robes of office. With that, Yu Qing and I left together, arm in arm, leaving him alone to slump to the ground where he stood. As we walked, Yu Qing didn't miss the chance to play up to me. He held out his hand, feigning injury, and said plaintively, "Look, my queen, my finger is scraped from striking that scoundrel." I shot him a reproachful look, took out a handkerchief to gently dab at his face, and said, "If that's the case, you shouldn't have started the fight in the first place, a ruler of a nation brawling like a common street thug. What kind of example is that?" Yu Qing was genuinely hurt now. Is the empress still concerned about that Li fellow? I rolled my eyes at him. What I meant was, next time, have the guards handle it, a group fight or a one-on-one duel, whatever works. Why get your own hands dirty? Now, even if you get the slightest scratch, the one who'll be heartbroken is me. Only then was he satisfied. Beaming with joy, he took my hand and led me away. The very next day, Yu Qing openly lodged a complaint with the emperor, accusing Grand Tutor Li of attempting to violate the Queen of Yu in the imperial gardens and demanding severe punishment. The emperor, who had long been weary of Li Yunan and was just looking for an excuse to deal with him, immediately ordered the confiscation of his family's property, his exile, and a lifetime ban from holding office. As Yu Qing and I boarded the carriage for our return journey, we passed the procession of exiled prisoners through the carriage window. My gaze briefly met Li Yunan's as we went our separate ways. The once illustrious and revered Grand Tutor now cut a wretched figure, staggering forward as soldiers lashed him with whips. He lifted his head and seemed to spot me, a sudden surge of agitation overtaking him, only to be kicked to the ground and beaten until he curled into a ball. I indifferently averted my gaze and leaned into Yu Qing's embrace. Now we're in for another long carriage ride. Yu Qing toyed with my fingers and replied, "If Xingxing is feeling bored, perhaps we could stop and enjoy the scenery at a particularly beautiful spot along the way." I smiled and said, "All right."